I'm sure most of you have seen the video footage, just dozens of people at a time pouring over the border, border agents detaining so many people right now.
Just after midnight on December 8th, 2018, before 1 a.m., just after midnight, December 8th, so 10 days ago, Jakelin died of a heart attack, probable sepsis shock. So she had 2 heart attacks, Jakelin did. Baby Jakelin, she's a 7-year-old girl. So remember her name, Jakelin, with a K. Jakelin Amia Rosemary Caal McQuinn. Jakelin Amia Rosemary Caal McQuinn. Jakelin, women, they take their father's name and then they take their husband's last name, so they never actually get their own last name, but a woman is definitely her first name. A female is definitely her first name. Jakelin is this 7-year-old. So baby Jakelin, she liked to climb trees. She's from Guatemala. She's trekking across Mexico with her father, gets to the border, gets to the American border, and they have a bus where they take all the kids who are unaccompanied, but then 5 hours later, she's vomiting, she's not breathing, they try to save her, but she was already dead. So the question right now that we're faced with is, who killed baby Jakelin? Was it the Border Patrol agents, or was it her father? Or was it a percentage of both? Was it a little bit of both, a little bit column A, a little bit column B? So the father crossed the border illegally, but do we not know that babies, children, need water? They need water. But of course the Border Patrol, a bunch of right-wing, fascist, Nazi pieces of shit, to care, to love, to show humanity. That's not what the Border Patrol people are. That's a bunch of fuckboys who's been given a bunch of power. Hey, fuckboy, here's a gun. Hey, fuckboy, here's a gun. Go take care of what? For men, they said that the facilities were for men. So that just tells me they, will abuse the shit out of men. That's okay. And in some respects, if they're adults, then you have to take responsibility for your actions. But what did baby Jakelin do? What did Jakelin do? Blame the father, blame the Border Patrol agents. What did she do? She was 7 years old. She was innocent. She believed her father when her father said that America was a place of opportunity. And during Christmas time, all this during Christmas time, can you get any bigger fucking hypocrites? In terms of Thanksgiving, the refugees, right? The Native Americans welcomed the Pilgrims, and the Pilgrims hated Christmas. Christmas is a pagan holiday. You're not allowed to have fun. You're not allowed to enjoy festivities. A true Christian doesn't celebrate Christmas according to the Pilgrims. But people will say, oh, gotta respect Merry Christmas, respect the Christians. Okay, Christians. So baby Jesus crossed the border and just died. What side are you on? What kind of fucking Christian are you?
Okay, what's going on, everybody? It's time to talk some more border talk. We got a famous international episode for you guys.
So the Democrats don't have a better immigration policy. Hillary, she didn't give a damn about the Honduran refugees. Hillary and Obama in 2009, they overthrew the Honduran government. Birthday Caceres is going to die eventually because Honduras was made into the murder capital of the world. And when the Honduran refugees came up to our shores, guess what Hillary did? Hillary, piece of shit, Hillary Clinton, said, no, we don't give a shit. We wrecked your country. Now go back into the same hellfire that we just created for you. If we're wrecking these people's country, we need to take their refugees. We need to take the refugees. We can't overthrow their fucking nations and then just keep all of that's a jail, that's a prison sentence. We are basically getting all these people executed for our behavior. We coup d'etat the Honduran government in 2009, and we did it several times. In fact, in the 80s, we did it with Guatemala and El Salvador and Nicaragua. So many times have we overthrown governments. Baby Bush overthrew Haiti. Papa Bush overthrew Haiti. They did it 2 times in a row. And when the Haitians were swimming up to the shores, the Haitian boat people, and this is going to be under Bill Clinton because they overthrew it right before Papa Bush stepped down. So Papa Bush, he invades Somalia, forces Bill Clinton to get into Somalia, passes NAFTA, or keys NAFTA up to get Bill Clinton to go ahead and do it, and then Bill Clinton just goes ahead and takes the damn bait. he's going to have to deal with the Haitian boat crisis. Eventually, he's going to be the one that restores Aristide back to power 2 years later, so he drags his feet on it. But the Haitian boat people were refugees running away from the country that we just coup d'etat. If we're going to coup d'etat our country, we've got to take their refugees. If we think that we can go into another country and then, kidnap their leader, take their leader and put him in jail, oust the leader, and then put a brand new leadership into their country, and when the people in that country are getting killed and slaughtered, they want to run out from the violence, we don't give them a place to stay? Give me a fucking break. If you break it, you buy it. You go into a country, you think you can go ahead and kidnap their damn leaders, then you need to give a shit about their babies. To sit there and say, what? It's like you're just for killing. You just want to go around killing people. You don't give a shit about the babies. You overthrew the government, and now they're on your shores. That's Hillary Clinton. Those are the Clintons. That's the liberals. Of course the Republicans are going to be worse. Obama was a deporter-in-chief.
Like up this video, comment down below. We got to talk about the border. So
no, I will not comment down below. Why don't you comment down below?
I mean, it's just ridiculous. Trump is asking for a little bit of extra funding. I think it's like $5 billion he's asking for.
Just $5 billion, just a little bit of money, just $5 billion. What, for the homeless? No, not to build homeless shelters for the kids in America, the white kids in America who don't have a place to sleep. They don't have homes. God, this is dog-eat-dog capitalism. We don't even give a damn about our own kids, let alone about some other nation's kids.
It's a fucking, this is an issue, right? And America is seeing this. Well, now, this little girl, Jakelin, this little girl died.
Her name is Jakelin, you piece of shit. Yeah, let's listen to this Caucasian. He's not from Caucasia, but we gotta call this asshole Caucasian? Why we gotta call him a Caucasian? You from the land of Caucasia? My people's from Germany and Africa. I don't even know if we even set foot in Caucasia. I guess we had to get to Germany there briefly, right? Had to get out of Africa, kind of cross. But was it the Caucasus Mountains? Or maybe we went, through Italy. Maybe that's the way we did it.
While in custody, so here's the story. Here's the mainstream media narrative. The mainstream media, CNN, all the media outlets, they're basically saying that this girl was detained, and while she was in custody, that was the reason she died.
He says she died while in custody like it was her fault, and who gives a damn? He don't give a shit. He don't give a shit about her life. I bet he's a white supremacist piece of shit.
Something happened, the border agents did something, and she died, right? I think she actually had a seizure.
So this Caucasian messenger for the devil's team who's got a rat's nest for bangs, he's standing in the field alone talking to himself. Let's hear what he's got to say.
But you can read the details. I'll leave an article down below. The truth is that the medical report is that she wasn't given food or water for days.
That was very much a big part of the reason she died. We're going to find out the autopsy. Maybe she hadn't had water the entire time she was trekking all throughout Mexico. We could have given her water as soon as she got over, as soon as she crossed the border. Oh, yeah, they gave her plenty of food, plenty of water, because that's what Donald Trump's policies is, right? Make sure the little kids get water. Don't dump the water out. Don't make it hard as fuck for immigrants so they have to go to remote locations. No, that's not Donald Trump's policy. His policy is when those kids come, when the Honduran refugees or the Guatemalan refugees come to our border, we give them water and food, right? That's what that fuckboy soldier's going to do. Fuckboy National Guard is like, you know what? I've seen the pictures. They're dumping water out. They're dumping water out, and, we need borders. I agree that we need borders, but we also can't lose our damn humanity.
Before her and her parents hopped the border. It had been days. Now, what does that mean? That could mean 3 days.
So that's where we're at right now. We're going to look at the autopsy report. That will, essentially, there's only two parties that could be responsible. It's either the 3 border agents who found Jakelin or the father. Those are or maybe the mother, or maybe the governments, and maybe the policies. But ultimately, the individuals responsible, Jakelin's not to blame. What? She's the blame. She was born. She shouldn't have been born. No, she got born, and she's innocent. Jakelin's not to blame. Her father's to blame, and the 3 border agents are to blame. Who gets the bulk of the blame? Do we put 75% on the father? Do we put 75% on the border? Do we do 50-50? Somebody is to blame for her death. Jakelin died when she should not have died. If you're raising a child and that child dies, you're a bad parent. You're a bad government, too, if you're sitting there making sure that children don't have food and water and access to medicine and medical help, and then watching them have seizures and then they're not breathing and not dying. So for you to be callous as fuck, that's also, that's...
That could mean a week, that could mean over a week. We have no idea, but it had been days since she had been given a drop of water or one bite of food.
So Bill Clinton and Hillary didn't care for the Haitian boat people. They overthrew the government, right? Our government under the Republicans had overthrown the government, and then Bill Clinton gets in there, has all these refugees. They're floating on branches, right? Just throwing themselves out into the ocean. They caught a hold of a log, and they held onto a log all the way up until the shores of Florida. And then we shipped them back to Guantanamo, or pushed them back into Haiti. We pushed them back into the hell that we ourselves had created. That's the liberal Democrats. That's the liberals. There's only conservatives and liberals. And when the liberals are saying, fuck the refugees, you know the conservatives are going to be to the right of that. Of course the conservatives are going to be worse. And while Donald Trump's policies are definitely to blame, I can't just blame totally Donald. He did not condemn the Confederates, so he does appear to be racist. Racialist is what I've been saying about him, but Dave Chappelle said he was the white Malcolm X. Well, I like Malcolm X, so the white Malcolm X sounds kind of cool. So Donald Trump's, his policy, I'm not ready to say that it's his fault directly. What I am prepared to say is that I cannot stand the pieces of shit that support Donald Trump because they're white, supremacist, low-life pieces of shit. He's been doing the dog whistle bullshit. He's sitting there, giving a wink and a nod to the Confederates. He can't condemn the Confederates. He condemned the KKK. He condemned the Nazis, but he couldn't condemn the Confederates. Today's Confederates, any neo-Confederate for today, is just a racist piece of shit who hates black people. That's what the Confederate flag means today. They don't know shit about the politics of 1850, these dumbass fucking backwards Confederate fucking pieces of shit. I am prepared to say, fuck those people. Fuck all them motherfuckers who don't give a shit about Jakelin's life because they're white supremacists. They don't care about her because she's got brown skin. So, if Donald Trump's policy's right, protect the border. Protect the border. That's fine. Build a wall if you want. That's fine too. When you have children that comes up to the border, when you have children that's in our country and we capture those children, don't starve them to death. Don't let them dehydrate right in front of you. Don't be a psychotic, low-life piece of shit. Have some goddamn humanity. The adults, we gotta, the adults I have, I'm a bleeding heart liberal, so, I got all the love in the world for everybody, especially if you're running away from a situation that our government created. But a child, how can you deny an innocent child of basic necessities? Food, water, clothing, shelter. I mean, my God, that's so fucking sick. That's, at the very least, that's murder by negligence. It's murder by negligence. And I think it's worse because if you capture them and they're under your custody and they're not getting the water, then that means you exacerbated a situation that may have already been there, or perhaps you created it and it was just your fault. It's one of the two, and it's both of them. Let's go ahead and put it on both of them. It's a percentage of the father and a percentage of the Border Patrol's fault. Who's to blame? Both.
Her parents did that to her. The mainstream media is trying to use this against Trump, use this against our border agents, trying to use this as propaganda to pull on the heartstrings of all the fat, white, barren liberals out there that don't have any kids of their own, so, they try to tug on those kind of heartstrings. But this girl died because her parents made the decision to not only bring her across the desert and cross a country's border illegally, but also they...
Never forget that Ronald Reagan designated Osama bin Laden a freedom fighter. Osama bin Laden was a great freedom fighter that the United States government had to give a bunch of guns and ammunition, weapons to, because they were defending Afghanistan, and the Russians wanted to invade Afghanistan, and we were like, hey, you can't be an imperialist like that. You're not allowed to invade another country. That's what Hitler did. So we gave a bunch of weapons to Osama bin Laden. Ronald Reagan said Osama bin Laden's a great freedom fighter. Give him a bunch of American arms, right? And then Ronald Reagan's going to turn around, and then he's going to call Nelson Mandela a terrorist, right? So Osama bin Laden, he's a freedom fighter. Nelson Mandela, according to Ronald Reagan, is a terrorist, funneling weapons to Mandela's enemies through Israel. The thing about American foreign policy, for me, is we got to be on the right side of history. We've got to be on the right side of history. If we're overthrowing Honduran governments and their refugees are coming to our shores and we ain't doing shit about it, we've created that hellhole. And I don't know if they're going to, just love their oppressors and just love, that we're such big old assholes. But it seems to me that if I was a Honduran, I would be very pissed off if you overthrew my government and forced me to live in a hellhole, murder capital of the world, and you wouldn't give me no refuge or asylum once you made that mistake. You invaded my country. You took out my leadership. And now when I don't have a place to go, now when my kids and my sisters and brothers and parents and grandparents have all been shot up, I ain't got a place to go. I don't have no place to go. When you created the mess. So if it's our fault, we've got to take those refugees in. If it's not our fault, well, that's a little bit of a different story. So is the refugee crisis that Jakelin came out of, Jakelin Caal, was it our fault? Did we have something to do with Guatemala? Did we overthrow Guatemala's government ever? Did that ever happen? Did Dwight D. Eisenhower ever overthrow the Guatemalan government in 1954 for a predecessor to Chiquita Banana? Hey, Chiquita Banana's got to make some fucking money, right? So let's send a bunch of soldiers to Guatemala to go ahead and overthrow their government so we could protect Chiquita Banana, which was called United Fruit Company back then. That's what the fuck happened. Yeah, we've been in Guatemala. Yeah, we fucked their shit up. They had a civil war for 36 years.
Didn't feed her or give her any water. I mean, it's the saddest story. It really is sad. But this doesn't say anything about our border policy or anything like that. And I think American people do realize that. Comment down below what you think. I mean, do you believe the mainstream media narrative, or do you think that they're leaving some things out? I'm telling you they're leaving things out.
After that, 1996 is when they ended their civil war from what we did in 1954. And you know why we did that? Because we thought they were communists. They had all this revolution. They had all this democracy. They were changing everything. The people rose up, and then they were going to give, make the United Fruit Company pay their fair share of taxes, and they didn't want that. So they contacted John Foster Dulles, Alan Dulles, the Dulles brothers. Dulles talked to Eisenhower. Eisenhower said, let's send the CIA into Guatemala. We overthrew, as a government, as a society, our government overthrew the government of Guatemala. We took out the leader. We took out we kidnapped him. We pushed him out. We put our people in there. There were some talks in San Salvador, and then we installed our government, and then there was a military authoritarian dictatorship in there for 36 years. So we made sure that they didn't have any politicians in there that wanted to make sure the people were fed. If I give the poor some food, I'm a hero, but if I say the poor need to be fed, then I'm called a communist. So they didn't want anybody, the Eisenhower, the Cold War people, the Cold War era, such bullshit anyways. We only got capitalism and communism, and we actually need a synthesis between the two. We need a little bit column A, a little bit column B. But back in 1954, we weren't even allowed to consider being communist then. We had to be capitalists. You didn't have a fucking choice. Shut the fuck up, America. You're a fucking capitalist, whether you like it or not. What are you, a commie? What are you, a commie? And then they're going to go ahead and kidnap you and then throw you in jail? We're killing people overseas in the name of communism. We were locking people up here, squashing dissent in the name of communism for 50 years. I thought we're a free country. But we can't even think of thought. We can't even think an idea. We can't even say, you know what? Instead of having a government that protects capitalism, what if we have a government that protects the people? Oh, no, can't even think like that. Don't even dare think like that. Jesus Christ.
So this little girl dies. We're going to be hearing about this for a minute, for a couple of days at least. The issue at the border is It's very serious.
So one comment, this Caucasian messenger for the devils, he is sitting there saying that CNN has already come up with the narrative. No, that's not true. He already knows the truth. But CNN, Andrew Cuomo, he said, don't demonize the father. Don't demonize the border agents. Hey, let's not turn this into a political football. Really? Because those two aren't actually responsible for Jakelin's death? Of course they're responsible. The father, the mother, maybe the governments, maybe the policies, but definitely the border agents who kidnapped him and the father who made her trek across Mexico. Those are the people who's responsible for Jakelin's death. Andrew Cuomo said that demonizing the border agents and the father wasn't the way forward. It absolutely is. Yes, we've got to blame those who are responsible. Justice is an eye for an eye. So who's responsible for Jakelin's death? Whoever's responsible for Jakelin's death, justice is eye for an eye. Shouldn't they receive the exact same punishment? Got a commander-in-chief that says if you shoot a police officer, that person should be put to death. But if you kill a little 7-year-old kid, then we're not going to do shit about that. That's some bullshit. That's some bullshit. So we need to defend the defenseless. We need to make sure that right is right. Make sure we get some justice for Jakelin. We got to get some justice for Jakelin. She's not allowed to defend herself. She's dead. And for the psychos, that just means it's easier for them to move along. Well, she's dead. Why defend her? Why? Because she shouldn't have been dead. The average lifespan is 76 years of life on the planet. She only got 7 of those years out of 76. So she got robbed of 69 years of life. She'll be young forever. She's forever young. But I'm not going to shrug my shoulders. What's going to differentiate me from those who killed her is I'm going to draw a line in the sand. I'm not like you fucking assholes that let her die. No, sirree. I do believe in borders. Without borders, we don't have a country. But I don't believe in killing children. Nah, I don't believe in that. I don't know, is that who the fuck you are in this Christmas holiday season? Yeah, let's go kill a bunch of kids on the border. Let's go kill a bunch of Guatemalan kids.
That we're experiencing now, these are organized by people way up at the top. All right, some globalist forces. These caravans are funded, the people are organized, and they're
I didn't like Andrew Cuomo's little thing at all because he said we could do better. We can do better. Oh, you think? That's your damn conclusion? We can do better than not killing Guatemalan kids? Yeah, we can do better than that. We can do much better than that. We as Americans could capture the children crossing the border illegally and not dehydrate them to death. We could, capture them or put, the wall up or whatever, put up a boundary and just say, nope, you can't cross over here. And then it's not our fault, right? They can't get water on their own land. But they came over here, we're going to detain them, and then we bust them north? Why would we bust them to the north? Why not bust them south, right? That's the crime. They cross the border, so capture them and then take them back over the border. And that, that would nip that problem right in the bud. Cuomo wants to say we could do better, but we're not going to blame the people responsible? Come on. The minimum threshold any being human could have towards another person is don't dehydrate, don't starve the children to death. Don't kill it. A child comes over illegally, and, if they have guns, if we got armies of people crossing over our border, that's an invasion. That's an invasion. If they have guns and there's groups of people coming over. If it's just one kid, one little kid who came over, an innocent little child, a 7-year-old, she turned 7. Jakelin liked to climb trees. She was 7 years old in 5 days. 7 years and 5 days on this planet. But she come to America for a better life. She came to America because she heard we were good people. She heard we could have done something better for her. We're the ones that protect the dreamers. We're the most, the liberal democracy. Our liberal democracy has been instituted all across the world. That's what she was told. But as soon as she gets to our shores, as soon as she gets to the United States, she's killed. She's killed. My ancestors were Germans. And even the Anglo-Saxons, the Pilgrims, how come they weren't murdered, they weren't killed?
Encouraged by leftists down there in their countries to come up here. That's what we have to understand. America has given countries like Honduras and Guatemala a lot of money and done a lot of things to try to help them. What do? They all vote in socialist governments. The governments collapse, people starve, and then leftists.
a lot of the old literature when it comes to the Native American genocide was that the Native Americans, they wanted to genocide. They wanted to kill not just the men, but also the women and children. That's what made the white people so much better. They wouldn't kill women and children. No, sirree. So don't kill the babies, America. Don't kill the baby Jesus, America. The hypocrisy in America is so disgusting. How many Christian asshole Republicans are going to celebrate Jesus this entire month while at the same time say, baby Jesus, we're going to starve and dehydrate baby Jesus when he comes up to our shores. There's no inn in Mexico, so that means we're going to force him to go to the stables. Wouldn't you have liked to have been there? Let's assume the baby Jesus story is even true. Wouldn't you have liked to have been there and been like, hey, Mary and Joseph, why don't you have your child, here in the house and not out in the damn stable, not in a bunch of horse shit.
Encourage them, organize them to come up here to America. Well, what's going to happen when they come here, right? And a lot of people will say, well, it's just a million immigrants, right? It's just 2 million immigrants. Or Germany just took in 2 million Africans. It's not that big of a deal. The thing that they don't tell you is all of these immigrants, they outbreed.
How come when I gain my own mind, people think I'm losing it? Anyways, Andrew Cuomo, he says we could do better. Yeah, we could do a lot better than not, let's not kill the kids. Not only let's not kill the kids, let's use common sense. I believe in borders and a common sense immigration policy. Fuck the criminals. MS-13, just shoot them motherfuckers. You got MS-13 coming over here, they got guns and drugs and shit. Go ahead and just wipe them out.
Breed us by like fucking 3 to 1, 5 to 1 sometimes, more than that. I think there's some Muslim countries that they have a birth rate of like 7. What they don't tell us is that these people, 500, it's only 500,000 illegal people. They're going to outbreed the fucking 3 million Americans that already live in that area. And within a generation or two, it's going to be a completely different.
If there's actual threat, if there's an actual danger, if there's an actual invasion, yes, we've got to defend ourselves. We've got to defend our country. Of course we do. But use common sense immigration policy. What are we going to do with the 20 million, Mexicans who are here illegally? What are we going to do about more kids that come up to our shores? I think we just have to use our own, common sense judgment. If the kids are starving and, thirsty and we're going to capture them and then put them in a pen for hours, making sure they get no water, make sure they get no food, well, then that means those deaths are on our hands, on our government's hands. And that's why it's up to us, the people, to draw that line in the sand. Are you like these Border Patrol agents that take these kids and kidnap them and put them in cages, make sure they don't get no water, make sure they don't get no, food to eat until it's way too late? Then they try everything. Oh, now it's too late. She's not breathing. She was vomiting. She wasn't breathing. Now we're going to try to do something. Fly her to El Paso and all this other shit. Now, I want to know the 3 Border Patrol agents. I want to know their names, and I want to know exactly what they did. I want to know exactly what they did, because my guess is that they're right-wing fascist pieces of shit, and they captured them, made them sit on the sidewalk, yelled at them, tell them to shut up. There's only 3 of them. There's 163 refugees, right? Throw them all in a pen, get them all tied up, make sure they're not running away from you. That's what they're doing. They're detaining them. They're using fascism against them. They're not giving a shit about their humanity. They're not loving them. They don't know shit about love. They don't care about loving other people. They only care about death. Oppressors only know death. They don't know life.
All right. It's very serious for us. It's very serious for them. I don't want to misdirect any anger, okay? Because in the past, I've made commentary that I did go too far, and I have misdirected some of my anger and strife at the immigrants, the migrants themselves. But what a lot of people don't think about is that these caravans, these, huge invasions.
So for the MS-13, for the criminals that want to cross the border, fuck those people up. For the adults who are peaceful, who are just walking across the border, who don't look like they got nothing on them, don't look like they're trying to, they're just going for asylum, let's see if their asylum cases are actually legit or not. If it's legit, then we got to figure out what we're going to do with them, because that's who the fuck we are, right? As Christians, we're going to be good people and we're going to care about others. I'm an atheist and I give a shit. So maybe we need to be more like atheists who give a shit. Not these asshole Christians. Christianity, these assholes don't give a shit about nobody. They're a bunch of hypocritical pro-lifers. I've heard people, there was somebody in South America who was put in prison for 20 years for having an abortion. And some people say, well, that's a baby's life. Of course she should be sent to prison for having an abortion. I mean, that was, that life was 3 days, and it was like, 10 cells. That you killed 10 cells? You killed 10 cells, you deserve to be put in jail for 20 years. That's what these pro-lifers would say. These right-wing Christian Republicans, they'll say that they believe in life for the fetus, but they don't give a shit about babies or children or 7-year-old Guatemalans. They don't give a shit. They're a bunch of hypocritical pro-lifers. They don't believe in pro-life. They don't give a shit about Jakelin's life. So when it comes to the adults, the criminals, fuck over the criminals. The peaceful adults, especially the ones who are by the lonesome, either keep them out, just tell them not to cross the border and make sure they just stay on that side. If they keep crossing, I guess we might have to punish them, but if it's, a peaceful thing, that's different than an invasion. If it's an invasion, well, that's a whole nother, ball of wax altogether. If it's children, you got, there's 50 children that had, nobody there with them. What are we going to do with all those kids? What are we going to do with 50 kids? I bet you there's some Americans that would adopt them. And if that's the best possibility, why did that kid go by himself? Is that the parents pretending that they didn't? Well, then that means the situation's that bad. The situation is that bad that they felt that it was okay to let their kid wander into America by themselves because that's the best chance that they got at life. I don't hate them for that. I don't hate them for coming over here having anchor babies. If their, life is that bad, then
a completely different state, completely different country. That is their game. And they are counting on people's ignorance of this fact, and counting on pulling those heartstrings. The poor children, the poor immigrants, they have a right to be here too. They're fleeing war-torn countries and starvation. They're going to vote for those same exact policies when they get here. That's another thing I think people should think of. And this is not, I'm not making this up, but statistically speaking, whites vote a lot lower for welfare benefits, big state, stuff like that. Minorities, Hispanics, blacks, these people vote for big welfare. It's like a 70% chance that they will vote for big welfare programs. They will always try to expand the welfare programs. And the thing is a lot of their constituents and a lot of their base happen to be those recipients.